Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday, start of a brand new week. My name is 𝗕𝗲, and you are tuning into 𝗕𝗲 Talks live at 4:45. This is the time of my day when things are just winding down. I'm getting ready to start dinner, but I've got 15 minutes to interview really cool people or talk to you about something I've got to share that's on my chest. So thank you so much for tuning in. Before I introduce my special guest to you, Karoline Stevens, a couple of housekeeping announcements. If you are watching this live on Facebook, on YouTube, or on LinkedIn, you can always chat with us. You can always share a comment or say hello and where you're from in the comments box. So make sure you do that. And thank you so much to everybody who is tuning in live or catching the replay on those platforms. Without further ado, I want to introduce you to Karoline Stevens. She is here in my hometown, just a little more north. She's in Sedona, beautiful Sedona. And you're going to hear her speak a little bit more, but I love this woman's accent. I have loved it ever since we first met years and years ago when she did a webinar with me. And it's part German, part Kiwi, part, New Zealand. She said she's from. She lived there for 25 years. But Karoline Stevens with Journey to Empowerment. Thank you so much for being on 𝗕𝗲 Talks Live today.
𝗕𝗲, I'm so excited to be connecting with you again. So thanks for inviting me.
Thank you. Thank you. And today we're going to be talking about a subject that I love this topic. I think that a lot of us, maybe struggle with how to be our extraordinary self. And Karoline today is talking about how to be your extraordinary self to be wildly successful. Not just successful, but be wildly successful. So we're going to get into the conversation. And I know, Karoline, you even have some stories of how having that kind of mindset has helped you even in your business. So tell us a little bit about how do you be your extraordinary self to be wildly successful?
Well, to become your extraordinary self, I mean, we innately are extraordinary, right? We all have this unique amazingness right inside of us. However, sometimes this beautiful diamond of is kind of covered up by old belief systems, by unresolved issues. And so we live kind of muted lives, we kind of have the lid on and we live out of, pleasing people or meeting others' expectations and not really giving ourselves permission to live our true authentic lives, to really live lives that we love to live, they're meaningful to us. And I think when we committed to that, then we're tapping into this part inside of us that is extraordinary. And this is in each of you and that wants to come out and unfold and fully be self-expressed.
Do you see, I know I see a lot of people that are really self-sabotaging. They are, like you said, they're not coming out, not being their true selves. And it's a lot of times it's because of fear or maybe confidence plays a factor in that. Is that what you're seeing a lot too? And how do you help someone kind of come out of their shell and be that extraordinary self?
That's a great question, 𝗕𝗲. So, I think the whole foundation for our life is really our self-image and our relationship with ourselves first, because I believe our relationship with ourselves is reflected back by life, the people we attract into our lives, the level of abundance we allow, how we step out and show up in the world. And so, so really this is the core of any kind of personal development work, is to connect deeply inside and to peel off the layers of what we just talked about, the old unresolved issues, old trauma and pain we may still be holding, and going even beyond them to our essence, to own our power. And I think the first step is to own it, to own that there's amazingness in you right now, incredible power, and that you can really create whatever you want in your life. You can be and do and have and create and give to the world whatever you would love.
I love that. I love that. First thing you do, you have to own it. But the other thing, as you mentioned, is it's so much about tapping into your inner self It's a lot about that self-discovery and realizing who you are and what you stand for, which I think that, because I do a lot of work also in Carolina in personal branding, and that really is a missing element that I'm finding with people is they're not tapping into themselves first before they start putting themselves out there. And it just becomes a big disconnect. And then when you don't get the kind of interaction or engagement, then you're like, I must be failing at this. And you go back into your shell and you don't do anything. Like you really do stay in this stuck mode. And I'm going to say hello to Esther joining in. Esther, no worries, lady. I know we start a little bit late too with the delay with LinkedIn, but joining us on LinkedIn. So thank you, Esther, for being here live. If you have any questions, by all means, ask away. Carolina and I are here to help guide the conversation. But yeah, owning it is a big thing. I think just realizing, like you said, that you have so much greatness inside of you, and how do you bring that back up to the surface and push that out? And it's work. It is work. So Carolina, the other question I have for you is, I know that you were sharing just in the green room about how you've had to do this work for yourself. So can you take us down the journey of what that was like? Was it an easy process? Was there anything that you were struggling with? And what can you teach people that are on or watching the replay?
Okay.
Loaded question, I know.
Loaded question. You can go down a rabbit hole. But anyway, well, it all started really with my life totally falling apart. You know, marriage of 20 years failing, lost our family home, had no money on a part-time business at the time. And I had no idea how I got into this place. And I had no idea how to get out. And it was freaky. I mean, for any listeners, you know, if you've ever been there, you know what that feels like. And so this is when a friend came to me and said, Carolina, what you have created is because of your patterns of thinking and your way of being. All you need to do is change those. Then you can create something different, something amazing. And so this was like the code word for me. And I rolled up my sleeves and I decided, okay, if this is how life works, I'm going to prove it to myself. And so this is when I started to engage with coaches. I spent every single cent I had on coaches and healing practitioners because I knew I couldn't do it by myself. And so this is when I really got them to help me turn my subconscious inside out. And it was shocking because I had no idea, you know, the amount of disempowering beliefs and grudges and anger and all sorts of things and fears and insecurities I was holding subconsciously, but they were operating. They were the silent forces that had been running my life and had been sabotaging my success and my abundance and my love. And so then really diving deep, and because I sure as heck didn't want to replay that record again.
Nope.
Yeah. So then I really started to face what I had to face and dive deep and let go of anger and grudges and healed and worked on my mindset. And piece by piece, life started to mirror my new empowered consciousness back to me. You know, I built a successful business, tripled my income, and then 4 years later met the love of my life. And so I really got it that in life, we don't get what we want, we get what we are.
Okay.
Yeah. And so the more we peel off the layers of what we are not and become and reveal this extraordinariness that's inside of us, then we can start to create from that. And, you know, from that self-worth to actually let love in and let abundance in and being willing to show up in life and go for what we want or set boundaries and say no. And it just, it just turns life around.
And it's so much, as you're sharing, it's so much about, I mean, everyone listening, about your mindset. It really is, as Carolina is saying, as she was going through all of these traumas in her life, from the divorce and from trying to just bring herself back up, her coach was even telling her that you've got to let go of some of the baggage that you're carrying. It's not healthy to keep this baggage, because if you keep going, it's just consuming you. It's consuming you and you can't move to a healthier place. So that's such sound advice as well. And I'm sure you share that with your clients now. You got to get to the hard stuff first before you can start to see the light. And I know I've had that personally as well. a lot of that too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. But at the same time, we can do the two things together. We can create a vision of what we would really love and what our life, dream life would look like. And we are working on the old patterns that have been holding us back. So it's not like we have to first clean up and let go of everything and then we are ready. No, we can do it simultaneously. And I think a vision is a powerful, powerful tool to actually connect us with this deeper empowered part inside of us, because we're asking ourselves, what would I love for my life?
So what do you recommend, Karolina? And hi to Linda Russo, who's on. Linda was on my show last week, so good to see you on here too. And Esther, yes, thank you for sharing. She was sharing how she needs personal branding herself right now. And honestly, Esther, as someone who teaches personal branding, like that is one thing, and I'm sure Karolina can agree, it's one thing that will sustain you for the rest of your life if you keep moving forward and start figuring out who you are now. It makes life so much easier when you can grasp that concept that it's you that you put out there. So Karolina, I wanted to ask you because, we're getting into a new year and just another, oh my gosh, like it's already here. I feel like this year has flown, although it really hasn't been feeling like it's been flying, with COVID and such. But what do you recommend for someone who is getting ready to create that vision? Like, are there tools that you would have them use, or do you opt for like the vision boards, or what is it? How do you suggest people start getting going with their vision and what they want out of their life?
That's a great question, because often we don't actually ask ourselves that question, what would I love? And that's such a good starting point, because it helps unlock our imagination. And so I would recommend just to allow yourself to dream big. Imagine it's like 3 years from now, and you live the life of your wildest dreams in all those areas of your life. And what would it look like? What would it feel like? And then literally, putting yourself into this vision and, starting by saying, yeah, I'm so happy and grateful now that, and then just writing it down like it's happening now in present tense. And so that's a great start, but keep leaning into what would I love for my life? And, when we were kids, we want to be astronauts and ballerinas and we don't have any limitations. And so trying to connect with this, just to allow yourself to dream, because there's a power inside of you that can make this manifest. But first we need to allow ourselves to dream.
It's so true that you say that, because as children, we're all about imagination and pretend play. And, I know when I was younger, I was like, I'm going to be the doctor, I'm going to be the teacher. Like, we have let that go so much. And this is a huge step right here. Like you said, this line, imagine if you're already there. Imagine, like you said, that 3 years into the future, you've already accomplished everything that you want. You're wildly successful, and then figure out what it's going to take to get there. But if you can envision what it is that you want, it makes it easier to actually see it start happening. And that's the whole thing about vision, is so many of us don't take the time to just stop and think about what it is we want and then move in that direction. We're just like, go, next task, next project, what's on my plate? And we're stuck in the details without thinking ahead into what our future could really look like.
Yeah. And often we spend more time planning our vacation than actually planning our lives, right?
So very true. So very true. Yes. Yeah. I have planned probably 5 vacations this year that have all been squashed. Oh, that was a lot of planning that I'm not getting back.
Yeah, but I'm sure you're already planning for 2021, right?
Oh yeah, you know it. We are. It's going to be great. I'm excited. I'm excited to roll into a new year. I think that I can speak for everybody that's on this, and that 2021, let's just move right in.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, very good, Karolina. Is there anything else that you'd like to share as we wrap this up? And then, of course, let us know how people can find you, and you wanted to talk a little bit more about your masterclass and what does that entail if somebody is interested in being a part of your masterclass. And I have to say, hey, Bruce coming on. Bruce is Bruce the Brit, the guy in the blue shirt out of California. 2 minutes before the meeting, planning. Yes, good stuff. Thank you, Bruce. Thanks for tuning in on LinkedIn Live. But Karoline, tell us about the master class and how some of these tips people can start using now, and then of course how people can get in touch with you.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I'm offering a masterclass, The Power of Vision, where we're going to dive much deeper into this topic. 3 keys to help you create your dream life. And this is going to be on the 20th of November. And yeah, the information will be in the show notes, and you'll find me on Instagram, and I'm on Facebook. Also have a Facebook group, which I'd like to invite you into, and it's called Female Enlightened. Let me just see. Manifesting Money and Mindset. So if you're into this kind of work and want to up-level your mindset and live from this greatness that's inside of you, I'd love to see you in my masterclass or in my Facebook group. I'm always happy to have a chat with you.
Oh, very good. Thank you so much, Karoline. Looks like we have Joseph Rosales also joining us. Joseph here in the Anthem area in Arizona. I am here. I found my way. Good, Joseph. So glad for you and for everyone else who's joining us. And as we wrap this up, know that you can always catch the replay. Karoline shared some wonderful nuggets. Just to recap, have a vision. Think about it from 3 years, 5 years, whatever that is, and imagine you are already there. That's the part about being a visionary and using that imagination. And then last but not least, how can you be your extraordinary self? You be your extraordinary self by owning it, by already knowing you're extraordinary, by not letting the limiting self-beliefs drag you down or other people, but really stepping into your own and pushing yourself out there once you know exactly who you are. So thank you, Karoline, for those wonderful tidbits. I'm pumped. I'm ready to start being my extraordinary self. Are you ready to start being your extraordinary self, Karoline?
Yep, absolutely. And actually, Tisha, I like that you're saying, authentic with a touch of badass,
You know, Karoline, so the funny story, I always share this because people always pick that up on my LinkedIn profile. It's how I introduce myself when I get on a stage. And truth be told, like I was speaking at Phoenix Startup Week, and 𝗕𝗲 𝗬𝗪𝗂, if she's watching, she was in the audience. She had never met me before, but she had followed my journey on, Facebook and came to the event to hear me speak. And as soon as I was coming off the stage, she's like, oh my gosh, like every time I think about you, every time I see you, I think of this authentic girl with a touch of badass. And I was just like, oh my gosh, that is the coolest thing ever. Like, I want to use that. I think it helped that I was wearing like a leather jacket and jeans and Converse and a t-shirt to my speech at Phoenix Startup Week. But I loved it so much that I credit her. I thank her every day for this because it really did pave the way for what my personal brand is. And for those of you who are watching, personal branding is, what do you want to be known for? How do you want to show up? And what are others taking away every time they see you? Like, what do they get from you every time they see you? So it's so much about, again, Karoline said this, owning who you are and living it and breathing it. Owning it, living it, and breathing it. So thank you for pointing that out. I love sharing that story because I did not come up with that. I don't take credit for it. I give that credit to 𝗕𝗲 𝗬𝗪𝗂 for sharing that with me. But thank you again, Karoline, so much. Again, you can catch the replay, and I'm just going to do a little shameless plug too. Next Wednesday, I've been invited to speak at Arizona State University to their entrepreneurship and innovation program, and on a topic that I love, seeing that we're so close to the new year, on finishing strong. So I will put the link in there, but honestly, Karoline, it's going to be a lot of even what you shared. A lot of us get hung up on the details, and we are just bombarded with all of the tasks and the little things that your only way to finish strong is to already envision that you've already done it. Like, you cross the finish line, you're done, on to something new. And that's honestly what I want to share with these students, with people watching. So this was a perfect segue into talking about that speech coming up next Wednesday. I hope you all will join me, and I'll put the link in the comments, as well as Karolina's link to her mastery class coming up on November 20th. But thank you so much, Karolina, for jumping in and being my special guest today. And again, thanks to everybody tuning in live or catching the replay. We will be back on Thursday at 4:45, so don't miss it. And as always, you can catch this Tuesdays and Thursdays, 4:45 Mountain Standard Time. And thank you again, Karoline. I appreciate you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your week up in Sedona, and we'll see you. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Peter.
All right. Bye. Bye, everyone.